Well, that was fun. Just came out by myself, late. Decided to come out and videotape some stuff, fly the drone, see if I could get some cool sights on it, and I decided to throw the anchor out in 40 feet of water. I threw some cut plug herring down to the bottom, and I've fought two real beauty salmon already in like 20 minutes. It's pretty cool. Getting warmed up for the next guest that's coming out. That's actually one of you subscribers. So he's going to come out and hopefully get loaded up with salmon and halibut. And then our friend Jeff, I've had the live, or not live, but have a owner of his place and had the videos. Our poor friend that blew himself up. He's coming out with his son. Soon after that, for some salmon and halibut. That'd be fun. And his son has had a face-to-face as well on their property. So maybe, possibly, his boy will want to tell us about his experience, right? Now, is it too bright for me to read? I don't know, it is sunny behind me. We'll see what happens here. I'm gonna try it. Like, I think I can read this. Alright. Actually, I might have to move. It's just to the, I'm looking right at the white floor, which is reflecting the sun, and that's nasty. So I gotta get a different angle here. Hopefully the fish doesn't bite for a bit. This ought to work much better. Shade, sun's kind of behind me. I see the rods. All my luck, something's gonna happen, right? Not this bad thing, but I might get a full email shared before I have to fight a fish. Dear Steve, I've been watching your program for over a year now. Ever since I found your channel. I won't get into the whole how awesome I am as a hunter and all my experiences, but I'll say this much. I've harvested my first 3 bucks with my bow when I was 13 years old, back to back. 3 weekends in a row. Right on. I had a great teacher, my dad. I grew up in a small town called Morganza in Louisiana. Not far from there is where I learned to hunt on an island called Rakassee Island. No, that's not how you spell it, but it's the way it's pronounced. I've also been a hunting guide and horseman for years in Colorado. Sorry about the loss of macaroni. I live in south central Pennsylvania. Now, after moving 16 years ago from Maryland, March 5th, I'll be 51. I've had numerous accounts with these beings. But I'll just throw out 2 or 3 short ones, or at least I'll try. When I was about 17 years old, hunting in a tree stand, bow hunting about 8 feet off the ground. To get to this particular stand off of the Mississippi River, I had to cross a canal. It's probably 15 to 20 feet deep and 50 or 60 feet across the top. While sitting in my stand, I could hear something huge running towards me. I could hear it when it jumped over the canal and landed. What scared me the most is how heavy it sounded. Definitely bipedal. Almost sounded like tapping on drums from a long distance, and just got louder and louder until it stopped in front of me about 50 yards in a huge thicket. Before it got close, I remember standing up on the deer stand to give me some more height, because I knew whatever it was coming, it was going to be big. When it stopped, about at a 45-degree angle, I can see it silhouetted through the thicket. At least 4 feet wide at the shoulders and 8 to 9 feet tall. I don't know why. Fear, I guess, but he immediately, in a calm voice, said, "Hey, there's someone hunting over here." It immediately let out a huge snort and huff, 2 or 3 times like he was trying to smell me. Took off running again and soon stopped again. Frightened out of my mind, I yelled out, "That's a good way to get shot. I'm effing up hunting over here." It took off and never stopped again. When I heard the last stick break and the last thud of weight of its body, I jumped out of the stand, hit the swamp behind me, and waded through the alligator-infested waters to get to the levee to walk back to town. No way was I walking back through those woods. This is where all your viewers will probably call me the crazy one. I knew in less than a week I was moving to Maryland. So me and a buddy of mine decided to camp out not 200 yards from where that happened on the Mississippi River for 4 or 5 days. We're going to walk out along the Mississippi River one night, go through the swamp, and over the levee to a friend of mine's house to watch the movie Friday the 13th. Trying to keep it short. We're going to meet 2 more friends of mine at the house. We could hear them coming on the levee by 3-wheelers. We were just about to make the turn off of the Mississippi River to go through the swamp and 3 bright lights appeared in the air and everything went dead silent, which is remarkable for a swamp at night. Yes, it was a UFO. Me and my buddy standing there, I thought we were going to be abducted. This thing was 50 yards wide. 3 glowing lights in a triangle formation, not shining to the ground, but just illuminating the tops of the trees. My buddy's 3-wheeler shut off on top of the levee, 150 yards from where we were. Steve, not a light bouncing in the sky a mile away. Not a glowing orb, but a huge UFO. I could have thrown a baseball and hit it. It turned in a circle formation for a few seconds, went up about 50 feet, and then, as they say, went straight up like a lightning bolt. I know some people say, usually when they've had Bigfoot sightings, there's sometimes UFO sightings close by. Now here is where it gets weird. Yes, 100% I believe in Bigfoot. I hope I never see one again. 100% I believe in UFOs, and hope I never see one of those again. I can't even tell these stories to my best friend without getting ridiculed. I often thought it would be funny if one would just walk up and smack the hell out of him while he was hunting. But that's not why I'm actually emailing you. I believe there's definitely something more sinister in the woods. Out of all the stories I've heard of Bigfoot, I've never heard one make the noise in any other story, like the one did with me. I'm wondering if it was a Dogman. I did not see a snout, but nor did I get to see a clear view of the face either. My sixth sense tells me you know more than you're letting on to the public, LOL. Could you please talk about the other things in the woods that people mention? These things people know are out there that aren't mentioning. So sorry for the long story, brother. Keep up the great work. My head has always been on a swivel, and my senses has definitely been heightened. Feel free to use my name, for I figured by now I know it's a safe place to share. Jonathan Bordelon. Jonathan, I may have read this in the past, you guys. I'm not sure. It sounds possibly familiar, but they're all starting to sound familiar anyway because of the pattern. The patterns that keep getting slammed in their faces. A lot of people suspect I know a lot more than I let on here, and I have been told a lot of things from various people that I've asked not to share publicly at this time. Do I respect them? Obviously, yes I do. I respect everyone. And I don't give a shit if anybody's going to snivel about what I just said. The people with no patience, you have to get patience. Alright? There's 2-3 different groups, not connected at all, who are going to spill everything they know. They know a lot. So, what do I know about what's running around the woods? For me, the pattern I can't ignore is there is possibly 2, maybe 3 types of beings that are associated with UFO sightings. Nothing I can do about it. Have I seen these beings? No. Have I heard firsthand from witnesses? What? Thousands of times around the planet, none of them connect with each other. Big pattern in your face, right? The Dogman thing. I shared with you guys before how I scoffed at the Dogman thing. I didn't want to hear it mentioned. But I cannot be a dumbass. There is literally tens of thousands of eyewitness reports. People who have emailed me, told me exactly who they are, what they've done for work. Dr. Melba Ketchum has DNA from them, including Sasquatch beings. So there's another one. Your typical Sasquatch being. There's another one in the woods, right? They have been noted as good and bad ones from people who I respect a lot when it comes to their knowledge. What else? There has also been a massive sized wolf. The size of a huge grizzly bear has been seen numerous times around North America. I've also had people, including here in northern BC, share with me that they have seen a hyena-looking type animal, but around 500 or 600 or 700 pounds in description. One walked blatantly right across the gravel road in front of a car with attitude, like it owned the joint, in headlights. That was in British Columbia. So that's what I know so far, all right? And that should be enough to set off some alarm bells anyway, right? You need to take note of what people share. The people, not the government. Not control freaks, not the owners of the mainstream news outlets at all. It's all about us now. We're taking it back, right? So there you go, man. Appreciate you sharing, big time. Share this video with your best friend. Let him see how many people are out here that he might have the balls to laugh at, right? There's hundreds of thousands of good, honest, hardworking people have seen these things. These bush people whatever you want to call them. They didn't ask for it, and they saw it. And finally they're coming forward because there's places like this and others that are safe to talk about now. There you go. Oh, I can see a bear way off in the distance. Too far for this little lens, though. I've showed you guys enough. Bears are silly anyway. Now let's see who else needs to be heard. This is now titled Red. April 4th, 2021. You were being watched from behind. Now what's new? I'm a long-time believer in the round table. I picked out in the background on April 4th, 2021. It looked like a Dogman. If you look at the trees to the right of the screen, between the third and fourth tree at the 6-minute timestamp and 12-minute mark, you can see it standing watching you. Also, watch the shadow it is casting on the fifth tree with the bent limb crossing it. The shadow will change from seeing its legs and head. You can see it slowly move its head and arms and ducking down. With your cams, try zooming in on it. I showed a friend, she saw it and pointed out the shadows to me. Hope you see what I'm talking about. Keep up the good work of us honest people. Thanks, John One-Shell, Old Hangtown, California. Okay, John. Somebody, our sleuths are going to go look. I don't have any internet connection here right now, and I'll probably forget by the time I get all the stuff I got to go, but I've been watched. Can you imagine how many times I've been watched? Everybody imagine how many times I've been watched over the years? Man, I could only imagine. I could only imagine how many times. I'll have a look at it when I get in. Thanks, man. There's another one titled My Experiences. Steve, thank you for what you do. You're welcome. I've had the use of a Depression-era cabin that is a few miles west of the Berkshire and Taconic Ranges, where the northeast and southwest corners of Connecticut and Massachusetts, about New York State. The Appalachian Trail runs through this area on its way to Georgia from Maine. I started whitetail hunting there in 1980. Our deer population varies with the severity of the winters, and we have bobcat, coyotes, and occasional black bear in the area. I like to get into the woods before first light on opening day, and have done so for the last 40 years. We used to have 4 to 6 hunters at the cabin for opening day, but for the last 10 years, I'm the only one left who still hunts the property. About 15 years ago, I got to my ground blind in the pitch black and settled in waiting for first light. After a half hour, as it started to get light, I noticed what looked like a large, tall, clean-cut stump 50 or 75 yards away. Where I was situated, I was close to a mile away from the nearest paved road, and when I thought about it, I knew that nobody was logging there. It was still semi-dark, so I didn't think much about it, but as it got lighter, the stump seemed to become more defined, and at one point I had a vision of an ape-like face turning back to look at me from its squatting position. I can remember the face clearly to this day, and it was a seething face that looked like it was raging. It could tear me to shreds in a heartbeat. I also sensed that it understood what my rifle was, although I sensed if this thing came at me, my bolt-action heavy barrel 308 with nozzle partition bullets was not going to be enough to phase this thing. Isn't that crazy, that description, you guys? Think about that. 308s dump moose all the time. The face was black and hairless. Its coloration was black, and the hair on top of its head looked like a long crew cut. From its squatting position, it seemed to be close to 5 feet tall. From the time it turned back to look at me while still squatting, to the time it seemed to melt away was no more than a minute at most. It was so surreal that sometimes I question whether this actually happened. I only told one other person about this, a former accomplished hunter, and he seemed skeptical about this. About 5 years after that, I was hunting the same property on a quiet November day when it was about 40 degrees, bright and sunny. Not much animal activity was taking place, but I was enjoying the warm weather in the middle of the afternoon. After a while, I started to feel a little uncomfortable and started scanning the ridges carefully, wondering if something was watching me. I never saw anything and nothing seemed amiss, but my feeling of uncomfortability grew and started to feel tangible. After another 5 or 10 minutes of scanning the woods without results, I got this feeling that I should start walking out of there. I wasn't really afraid, but something didn't seem right. I walked out of there in a controlled manner, but I was checking my back trail frequently. I've spent a lot of time in the woods alone, and I've never had a feeling like that before or since that time. It seems like a feeling of dread might have been too far away. Might not have been too far away, sorry. After going a couple hundred yards, the heavy feeling started to dissipate. I still hunt those woods and spend time there. I still spend time there target practicing and maintaining the cabin, but always with a loaded firearm at hand, whether it's hunting season or not. These experiences were very surreal, and I don't have an explanation for them, but I certainly will never forget them. If this is of value, feel free to share it. Thank you for giving me a forum to shine the light of day on this. Sincerely, Edward Hintz. Edward, appreciate you, man. A brave, free man coming forward with that information. And one thing you could do, I forgot to include it, maybe you didn't want to, whatever, but if you would include it, and you ever get the time, you're still watching this channel, share with us how that ended. How did that being get out of your sight? Did it move? Did it walk away? Did it vanish? That's an important item that a lot of us are curious about at this stage of the game, alright? And if you think what you saw is a little too much to share, it's not. Not at this point of the game. The cat's out of the bag, right? Alright, nothing on the rods yet. Let's keep going. Might be funny if I hook one while sharing with you guys. This next one is titled 2005 Kaibab Forest, Arizona Encounter. Just watching somebody catch a fish down there. Alright. My wife, young kids, her parents, and I set out on a 3-day RV-style camping trip to a 1.5-mile lake, smack in the center of the Kaibab National Forest in northern Arizona, close to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. It was early June 2005. We lived in Phoenix. It took close to 6 hours to get up there. Unfortunately, and for no good reason, I decided to eat some of the car food we had with us once we arrived in the forest. I figured the food was fine, tasted fine, but it had spoiled on the long trip. Around midnight on our last night, like the food was coming back up. I got up, put a jacket on, headed out of the trailer to let it all out. I felt so miserable. I walked around to the driver's side of my Trailblazer, opened the door and turned the headlights on. It was completely black up there and I couldn't see anything. With the lights on, I positioned myself between the front headlights and got sick. I finished that mess, and with a little relief from the nausea, I stood up and looked outward in the direction the headlights were shining. I was startled to see 2 red, glowing eyes hovering about 2 feet off the ground, swaying side to side like something trying to get a better look at me. I guess the creature was about 40 yards away, and with the headlights on, I could barely make out long hair, and the shape was like a rounded mound. The eyes were about 7 inches apart. It would blink slowly, one side at a time, like it was trying to use one eye at a time to see me better. Well, that's creepy. I guess my headlights were blinding it. I was petrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. If that thing charged me, that would have been it. I couldn't move. After maybe 20 seconds of this, the thing stood up slowly. The 3/4-inch circles of shining red lifted into the air. I could now see the shape of a massive, hairy man with really long arms. The arms were as big around as my torso, and as long as I am tall. Jesus. I took one step sideways, partially hiding behind a tree, but the eyes stayed fixed on me. The thing turned into a statue. No movement at all, no blinking, nothing, like it was part of the forest. Then that stupid Trailblazer of mine decided on its own that I didn't need those headlights anymore, and they shut off like on a timer or something. Back to pitch black, but worse. My eyes were not adjusted to the dark at all. I was blind and petrified now. I just about shit myself. Suddenly I could move again, and I moved myself back into the trailer as fast as I could. I was more terrified than any other time in my life, trembling and almost in tears. I had no idea what to do. To wake everybody up, I decided to just sit and listen. 2 hours later, multiple wild screams from maybe a half a mile away. They echoed through the entire forest. The screams were full of bass and screech all at the same time, over and over again, maybe 6 times. The screams seemed to finish with an "oh." Sounded like "ow." Unfortunately, nobody woke up. I was scared to death, solo, while my entire family was having sweet little dreams. Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all. As soon as the morning light broke, I went out to that tree where this thing was standing. There was a branch I remember being at its shoulder, and I couldn't even touch it, jumping as high as I could. How's that for a description, you guys, that haven't had this experience yet? The hairy man was easily twice my height. That terrified me all over again. When everyone else woke up, I started rambling about what had happened. My father-in-law looked at me like he was afraid for his daughter and his grandchildren. And I was like, oh shit, I can't tell this story at all. I dropped it, started playing it all down like maybe it was a bad dream caused by getting sick. Luckily, I had a good excuse to stay in bed for the rest of the day, though. I actually just needed sleep. We stopped camping after that. It's been 16 years, and I'm still haunted by this one encounter, and it really sucks. Adrian. Yeah, it does really suck, Adrian. I'm sorry I don't camp anymore. I get it, though. Many people do. But you may want to share this with your wife, possibly, and your children. I don't know how old your children are now, but if they're old enough to be presented with this in a straight up, no nonsense delivery, and just be honest, man. Just be honest with everybody, and show them this video. Give an idea of what you went through and what you've been packing in your brain all this time alone, which isn't frickin' fair. That makes me growl too, right? There you go. There's another one. Another member of the club in overturn, which is one of the largest clubs in the world at this point of the game, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to go around, check the gear one more time, make sure the bait's good, and then I'm going to share some more voices. Oh. Alright. Who else needs to be heard? Let's tell 3 stories. My name's Trish. Sorry. Hi, my name is Trish. I was the one that told you about the wild man in Kentucky. My grandma's cousin was taken from the garden and was missing for close to 2 years. This was in the 40s, mind you. My grandma, uncle, and son went hunting and heard the girl humming down by the river. They ran down to see her sitting down, bathing a baby. They yelled at her, and as she stood up, the uncle said it sounded like a bulldozer coming through the woods, and out came the wild man screaming. He grabbed her, and she pulled away, and as she did, the wild man grabbed the baby. She ran across the river and looked back. The wild man was yelling and waving his arms. When she wouldn't go back, the wild man killed the baby. Holy. My grandma said that her uncle, his daughter, was never the same. She never got married or had any children. That's the end of that first story. That's a holy shit story. Number 2, there's a place called Beach Fork. It's a 15 to 20 mile holler, and at dead ends of the big coal mine. Mind you, this is in the late 30s, early 40s. Some of the coal miners that couldn't afford cars had to walk to work. At one point of the walk, there's a fork in the road, and the miners were so scared of the wild man because he would make bluff charges, break trees, and throw rocks. So they started leaving food and things to make it easier to pass. This place is literally across the hill from my grandma's uncle's house. Number 3. My mom said when she was little, her and her sister had to use the bathroom. Well, mind you, again, this is in the late 60s, early 70s, they didn't have an inside bathroom. They had an outhouse. So, the outhouse had a little moon-shaped cutout in the door so some light can come in. So when they got to the outhouse, Mom said, smelled a skunk. As they went in, something held the door and wouldn't let them out. They screamed and my pawpaw ran out to get them. They were scared to death. Anyway, thanks again for listening to my stories. Wow. I wonder if anybody involved in any of those stories or have heard those stories from family members as well. I wonder if they're here watching this channel. And if they are, and you want to add to any of this, please feel free to, alright? We want to hear about it. It's not the first time, right? How many times have... there's been a handful of First Nations women noted of being taken and giving birth in the past. Also, there was a real crazy one of that Almas female being kept in a community in a rural Russia somewhere years ago and was noted to have had offspring, but none of them survived. I think one may have survived. But she kept killing them, washing them in the river in the middle of winter. Some crazy shit's going on the planet, you guys, that nobody wants to acknowledge. Thanks for sending those stories in. There's another one. Hyena Dogman drowns a deer. The lights and missing time. Here we go. Hi Steve, hope you're doing well. I've tried sending this in a few times, but I of course understand that you're overwhelmed with emails. So, here goes again. Haha. Sorry if this is long, you can share my name and location. You asked us in a previous video to send in encounters/info about the Dogman. I have one that a friend shared with me and a few encounters I have heard about in my area that I have heard about on other podcasts. I also have had some weird things that have happened to me in the woods over the last few years. You feel free to share all these stories if you'd like, and my name as well. No one should feel ashamed for experiencing something strange in the woods. Absolutely. Agreed. Dogman. I have a Dogman story one of my good friends shared with me. Our friend grew up here in Maryland with me, and I've known her since high school. She lives out of state now, but when she visits, we always exchange hiking stories and things we see out in the woods. Her job involves her being out in the woods for days at a time, so she is very familiar with all the things out in nature. Anyways, one day we're talking about weird stuff we have seen and heard in the woods, like my encounters you'll read below, and she told me something that shocked me. Let me preface this by saying she knows I'm interested in the Bigfoot topic and that I have experienced weird things, so she felt comfortable telling me what happened to her. She told me that while taking a trip to southern Maryland to visit a college campus with her mom, there's a spot on the road that people apparently see the ghost of a Civil War soldier across the road. As they're getting closer to the spot, she said that a giant black dog ran across the road and in front of the car on all fours. She told me the dog's back was 5 feet off the ground. She said it happened so fast that her mind couldn't register what had even happened until they were further down the road. She asked her mom if she saw it too, and she had no idea what she was talking about. If I'm not mistaken, I think she got her mom to drive back to the spot where it crossed, and she saw nothing. The crazy part of the story is I have never mentioned to her that people see these Dogman things. I completely trust her and believe her story. I showed her some pictures of Dogman I've seen on the internet and artists have drawn, and she immediately pointed to one that looked like a black German Shepherd. I've never seen one of these things, and I don't think I ever want to. There's a river I go hiking along that has had some terrifying encounters with a creature that looks like a hyena with a lion's mane. I pray to God before I go hiking here that I do not run into this thing. I haven't had any gut feelings telling me to leave or anything like. Therefore, I still go out doing what I love. Apparently back in the year 2000, 3 men were wading in the river while fishing one day. They went around a bend and saw this hyena-type Dogman in the river, and it was drowning a deer. Then it apparently bluff charged the 3 men. Then it scooped up the deer with one arm and walked away into the woods on 2 legs. If you travel further south down this river, someone else was apparently chased on their dirt bike by another hyena-type Dogman. And this happened only a few years ago. I wonder if it was the same one. It seems like if you follow this river north, Bigfoot encounters happen near this wildlife refuge, and south, people run into this Dogman thing. Unfortunately, I recently heard of a sighting where one of these things grabbed someone and the guy passed out from fear. This apparently happened just a few miles away from where I'm sitting right now, in an upper middle class area that is highly populated, and there aren't that many areas that have woods anymore because of more houses being built. This blew my mind because I thought this area was safe. But obviously these things have no boundaries and do what they want. I heard these encounters on a YouTube show years apart, so I cannot personally verify if these stories are true. But what are the chances of two people that don't know each other report the same creature, the same behavior near the same river years apart? I personally believe the stories. There's a lot of reports of these things in Maryland. If you're interested, Google the Dwayyo, D-W-A-Y-Y-O, is apparently what they are called here. We also have the, quote, goat man, end quote. Yes, half man, half goat. I wouldn't be surprised if that's real too. The lights. I want to say this happened in the winter of 05 or 06 at my parents' house. I was 16 or 17 years old at the time. One night I woke up at a dead sleep at around 4 a.m. Normally I just roll over and go back to sleep, get up and go to the bathroom, etc. But on this night, something in my head told me to get up and go look out the window. I walked over to the window, opened the blinds, and at about 30 yards into the woods, I see two balls of yellowish white light traveling next to each other, coming straight towards the house. They were a little larger than softballs, if I had to guess. My heart sank. They were slowly floating closer and closer towards the house at about 4 feet off the ground. The creepy part is, as I stared at them, it was like they knew they had been caught. The lights stopped dead in their tracks and quickly dimmed, like someone was using a dimmer switch from a light bulb. Those were definitely not flashlights or car headlights because there were no rays of light touching anywhere else in the woods. Those lights were self-illuminated. Naturally, at first, I thought I was seeing two people walking through the woods to come break into the house or something like that. There have been break-ins in our neighborhood in the past, so this is why I thought this. I ran and woke up my parents and told them that I think two people are coming through the woods to break into the house. We turned on the porch light, went outside, my dad yelled whoever was out there to come out, or something along those lines. We heard absolutely nothing. No footsteps, no animals crunching the leaves, no cars driving by, nothing. It wasn't until years later I really started to think about how strange this truly was. Why did I wake up out of a dead sleep and feel the need to go look out the window? How did the light seem to know that I was looking at them and stop in their tracks? It was pitch black in the woods that night, so how could they have seen me in my window? I feel like whatever these things are, that they were just passing through. I've never had anything strange or creepy happen in these woods other than these lights this one time. I'm very comfortable in the woods around here and would regularly walk home from my friends at 2 or 3 a.m. after drinking and stuff like that, and I've never seen anything strange like on this property since. Until a few months ago. Unfortunately, I recently heard of a sighting where one of these things grabbed someone and the guy passed out from fear. This apparently happened just a few miles away from where I'm sitting right now, in an upper middle class area that is highly populated, and there aren't that many areas that have woods anymore because of more houses being built. This blew my mind because I thought this area was safe. But obviously these things have no boundaries and do what they want. I heard these encounters on a YouTube show years apart, so I cannot personally verify if these stories are true. But what are the chances of two people that don't know each other report the same creature, the same behavior near the same river years apart? I personally believe the stories. There's a lot of reports of these things in Maryland. If you're interested, Google the Dwayyo, D-W-A-Y-Y-O, is apparently what they are called here. We also have the, quote, goat man, end quote. Yes, half man, half goat. I wouldn't be surprised if that's real too. The lights. I want to say this happened in the winter of 05 or 06 at my parents' house. I was 16 or 17 years old at the time. One night I woke up at a dead sleep at around 4 a.m. Normally I just roll over and go back to sleep, get up and go to the bathroom, etc. But on this night, something in my head told me to get up and go look out the window. I walked over to the window, opened the blinds, and at about 30 yards into the woods, I see two balls of yellowish white light traveling next to each other, coming straight towards the house. They were a little larger than softballs, if I had to guess. My heart sank. They were slowly floating closer and closer towards the house at about 4 feet off the ground. The creepy part is, as I stared at them, it was like they knew they had been caught. The lights stopped dead in their tracks and quickly dimmed, like someone was using a dimmer switch from a light bulb. Those were definitely not flashlights or car headlights, because there were no rays of light touching anywhere else in the woods. Those lights were self-illuminated. Naturally, at first, I thought I was seeing two people walking through the woods to come break into the house or something like that. There have been break-ins in our neighborhood in the past, so this is why I thought this. I ran and woke up my parents and told them that I think two people are coming from the woods to break into the house. We turned on the porch light, went outside, my dad yelled whoever was out there to come out, or something along those lines. We heard absolutely nothing. No footsteps, no animals crunching leaves, no cars driving by, nothing. It wasn't until years later I really started to think about how strange this truly was. Why did I wake up out of a dead sleep and feel the need to go look out the window? How did the lights seem to know that I was looking at them and stop in their tracks? It was pitch black in the woods that night, so how could they have seen me in my window? I feel like whatever these things are, that they were just passing through. I've never had anything strange or creepy happen in these woods other than these lights this one time. I'm very comfortable in the woods around here and would regularly walk home from my friends at 2 or 3 a.m. after drinking and stuff like that, and I've never seen anything strange like on this property since. Until a few months ago. A few months ago, I was having a fire outside late at night all by myself. It was after midnight, and off in the distance I saw a dark yellow orb-type light fade in and out very quickly at about 50 yards away. I brushed it off as being a neighbor's Christmas lights or porch light turning on, but I thought to myself, there's no way I could see anyone's house from where I was standing. The closest house is through the woods and up and over a small hill, so no chance it was a house. I thought maybe it was eyeshine from a deer. As quickly as I thought that, the same dark yellow light appeared again out of the corner of my eye to my right, like it was just traveling through the woods, like it had some place to be. I didn't feel threatened, but I didn't want anything to do with it, so I just went back to my fire and I left it alone. I'm now 32. Haven't seen these things in the woods since I was in high school. I think I've seen the lights on a few other occasions after I moved. In my 20s, I moved into my friend's house in the suburbs about 10 miles away. We lived in a normal, quiet neighborhood that had a school at the top of the street. There were some woods nearby, but these sightings, if I can call them that, happened at the house. These sightings were just quick glimpses, and I always wondered to myself, did I really see what I just saw? One night I came outside to let my dog out. As he does his business, I normally look up to the stars and just kind of look around. On this particular night, I looked up, and it looked like I saw a bluish-white orb hiding behind a tree in my neighbor's yard about 20 feet off the ground. I say this because when I saw it, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, and when I went to get a better look, I feel like I saw it behind another tree, like it was trying to avoid me. This thing was moving very fast because I only got a very quick glimpse of it, and that's why I'm still wondering if my eyes were playing tricks on me. It went out of sight so fast. Another time, a few years ago, same house, and I was letting my dog out again. The only difference was this one happened in the morning while the sun was up. I was about to leave for work, so I let my dog out to go to the bathroom again. I was looking around again, and this time on the opposite side of the house, it looked like I saw a yellowish white ball of light duck behind a tree again. It was like, as I was turning my head, it went, oh crap, he's gonna see me. Like he was trying to hide. So that one was a real quick glimpse, and I didn't see anything when I went back to go check. So I'm not really sure what to make of these lights. Sasquatch. In my free time, I go hiking any chance I get, so I'm always in the woods, especially now because I'm unemployed due to all this COVID BS. A few years ago, I wanted to see if there was anything to this whole Bigfoot/Sasquatch stuff, so I started hiking in areas that have had reports so I could see for myself. To make a long story short, the more time I would spend in these places, the more I would have strange occurrences. I've heard many tree knocks, seen many tree structures, or what I believe to be structures. I've heard a whoop, a whistle, and I've had creepy feelings of being watched, etc. At this one particular area that I hike, I've had numerous strange things happen there, and the place just gives off this very negative vibe. I've run into some sketchy people there, and I just feel off about being there most times. Anyways, one day I was hiking there, and there's a half a mile stretch of trail that just makes me feel uneasy a lot of times. I always have my head on a swivel, and I'm always very alert because you never know who or what you might run into at this place. So it's always a great way to see wildfire. So I get to this one spot on the trail, I'm getting that creepy feeling like I'm being watched. I feel like I'm just working myself up, and it's probably nothing. To my left, there's a little, I guess I'll call it a trail or gully that goes up to the top of the ridge that's covered in bushes on both sides. But at the very bottom, closest to me, there's a little opening. I always look there to see if I can see deer or anything like that. On this particular day, I noticed the opening looks dark, and I'm assuming it's because it's morning and it's just a shady spot. But I keep hearing this voice in my head saying, "Stop looking at me," or "Do not look over here." My heart was pounding and I froze. I turned my back to where the shady spot was because I couldn't take it anymore, and it felt like that's what I was supposed to do. And I heard something run off quickly up the hill, right where I was looking. I have no idea what it was. At the time I thought it was just a deer. But if it was a deer, why did I have those thoughts? Why was I so creeped out? I've more recently heard what I can only describe as heavy stomping in that almost exact area. And I've heard a tree knock that I felt like was a warning for me not to come through the area. It's an incredibly strange area. I heard someone laughing right behind me once, and when I turned around, no one was there. I was watching a ghost show and it talked about this exact area. Someone allegedly found some book in a shack back there and then got possessed by a demon. That's creepy. Don't know if that's true, but the place is definitely creepy. I've never seen any shacks or anything like that back here, so who knows. Another time I got insanely lost. If you stay on the trail, it's impossible to get lost, and I've been there numerous times. I was just walking in circles, and all I can remember is that I was on a trail I've never been on before, and I've never been able to find that trail since this one day. I remember I had to literally crawl under 2 fallen trees that completely blocked the trail. I feel like my mind was foggy. I remember finding my own footprints in the sand, and if I would have followed them, I would eventually find my way out. But for some reason, I didn't, and I kept wandering. That sucks and almost makes you wonder if those were your prints mimicked. You never know. I don't remember much, but I eventually heard a train and found my way out by walking down the tracks. I remember being on a trail that had what I thought were tree structures, and I just wanted to leave so bad. There's also a bad thunderstorm approaching too, and I was starting to get even more anxious. I followed the train tracks back to where I know the trail intersects with and got the F out of there. The strange part about this is that to get to the trail that I was on that led me to the train tracks, I would have either had to walk through thick woods or walk out to a main road, cross it, and cut through a church parking lot, then a graveyard, then 2 people's backyards. I do not remember even leaving the trail. I have no idea how I got where I was. Not sure if I was disoriented or if I had missing time or something. I know for a fact I was wandering for at least an hour. I know this place very, very well, and I have no idea how it was even possible for me to get lost here. This didn't really bother me at the time. I just thought to myself that I messed up and got lost somehow, but I still think about this every day, and the more I think about it, the less it makes sense to me. Yeah, no doubt. I keep thinking I was about to be a missing 411 statistic. While I was lost, there was a massive thunderstorm rolling in. I got out of the woods just in time. I'm not sure what to make of the situation, but I urge everyone to listen to your gut and pay attention to strange feelings. Nothing wrong with leaving the woods and coming back another day if it doesn't feel right. I've been testing the pressure, as you say, for years. There are places I've been where I have felt incredibly uneasy at times, but then I return a later date and everything is completely fine and I can enjoy my hike. Yeah, I've done that a lot too, man. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Just wanted to add to the collection of weird stories and let people know they're not alone and to not feel ashamed for what they've seen. Kevin, Pasadena, Maryland. Kevin, appreciate your email, man. It was a lot of time of yours donated to the group here. Your time is the most valuable thing ever. Ever. Anyway, it is bright. The sun's burning hot, blaring off of the the white hull. I think my face is burnt. But anyway, I'm gonna come back to shore more later on for sure. I'm gonna be real busy on the water the next few days, so there might be a gap, but we'll see. I kind of like sitting here by myself. It's kind of good. Sarah's got a whole bunch of family at the house, kids all over the place. She's in her glory. She loves having kid chaos, family chaos. She loves it. That's good. Now, I'm gonna get back at it. Maybe catch a fish. My whale friend's gone. I got some real good video of him today, so who knows? Maybe I'll see something else and get it on the drone. It's a great day for it. Or I'm gonna have a look at that bear over there, maybe. Anyways, I'll be back.